retarded compared to everybody else. In section 3.4, we're talking about adding and subtracting polynomials. So keep in mind that when I'm talking about a polynomial, I'm talking about things that are added together, terms added together, a number times x to a power, like 2x cubed plus 5x squared minus, right? Plus and minus these terms that have x's and numbers. If I look at each one of those as a polynomial, we're going to learn how to do stuff with polynomials, right? So in sections 3.4 through 3.7, what we're talking about is how do I add, subtract, multiply, and divide polynomials. We might not get to divide tonight. We'll see how that goes. If we don't get division done, we'll tack it on next week, and then we'll see how that test plays out. We might have to push that back a week or be creative on how we do that. But we're going to get deeper into, now that I know what a polynomial is, I kind of understand exponents and how to simplify exponents. Now I want to kind of work with them, do some math with polynomials. This first section, 3.4, talks about adding and subtracting polynomials. We already know what it means to add like terms. So if I'm adding, an example of that might be 3x to the 5th minus 7x cubed plus 2x minus 1 polynomial, right? We would all agree this is a beautiful example of a polynomial. I'm going to add to that the polynomial that is 3x cubed minus 2x. So I have a polynomial in parentheses and then another polynomial in parentheses. Because addition is commutative and associative, the parentheses don't really have any power. Now some people will say the subtraction signs are easier if I change them to adding the opposite. We know that subtraction is the same as add the opposite, so if you want to, you can change a subtraction to add a negative, plus a -1, plus a -2, and then once that's done, you really don't need those parentheses. Now we're going to look at these terms and identify like terms, or terms that have the same variable part. So I'm looking across here, and I see just one term that has x to the 5th. I don't have anything to add to that, so it stays what it is. 3x to the 5th, no change. Actually, if I'm doing these myself on paper, after I finished adding it, I will actually mark it off. I'll actually slash through it so I know I'm done with that, right? Then the next thing, I don't have any x to the 4ths, but I do have x to the 3rd. I see a couple of them, so I'm going to circle -7x cubed and positive 3x cubed. They have the same variable part, so they're like terms. I can add them together, right? When I do, I consider -7 of those things plus 3 of those things gives me a -4 of those things. The variable part doesn't change. It doesn't become x to the 6th or something like that, right? I'm adding 2 of them, but it's like saying I have -7 sandwiches, then I add 3 sandwiches, so I have 4, right? Sandwich. It does. I kind of felt like a Sesame Street thing there. It doesn't change to being something else, right? The variable part stays the same. It just is a -4x cubed. And now that we're done with those, I usually like to just mark them out. The next thing we want to look at is 2x's. I have a positive 2x and a negative 2x. Plus 2 and minus 2, I know add to 0. So I'm going to cross those off. Don't have any x's to add here. And then the last but not least is this little guy, -1. He doesn't have any other like terms, so he just is what he is. And that's addition. We've kind of done that before, don't you think? We've seen like terms, we've seen something like this. If I subtract them, then this operation between the two parentheses is subtraction, and the only thing that's even a little bit interesting about that is when I subtract a polynomial, I have to change that to add and then change the sign of everything in there, right? You kind of distribute that subtraction. I'm not just subtracting the first number, I'm subtracting all of that stuff. So another example of subtraction might be 3x to the 5th plus a -7x cubed plus 2x plus -1. Here I've changed the subtraction to adding the opposite already, but I'm going to leave this one as a -3x cubed minus 2x. This is what it originally was in my problem, except I've changed the addition to subtraction. Notice that when I have subtract something in parentheses, to eliminate the parentheses, I have to change this to addition and then change the sign on both of the things inside there. I'm subtracting all of that. Subtracting the 3x makes it a negative 3. Subtracting a negative 2x actually makes that a positive 2x, right? So we're spreading that subtraction out. And then I go back and do the same thing again. 3x to the 5th stands alone. Then I have a negative 7x cubed, and now a negative 3x cubed. Negative 7 and negative 3 add to negative 10x cubed. Next I have 2x here, positive 2x, and another positive 2x. Since I changed the operation, it's now positive. 2x and 2x is plus 4x. And last but not least, minus 1. Any questions on addition and subtraction?